That picture is how we feel walking into many rooms down the street. That picture is how we feel, and nobody will believe us.
So I want to address the brand new left-wing race hoax that they tried to start this weekend over Patriot Front. That's right. This is once again a thing where they're trying to say that these guys are MAGA. Look, Trump's white nationalist Nazi supporters are out in full force, which is of course hilarious because I've never met a single MAGA person who does not believe that these people are feds. That has been the thing the entire time. Basically, the theory there being that they are FBI infiltrated agitators who are trying to sabotage or make the right wing look bad, which, if that's true or not, I'm not sure. But the whole point is what? MAGA doesn't support these people. These people publicly do not support MAGA either. There's a reason why they were not showing up, for example, to Trump's USA 250 events, but still, you know, the whole game they try to do, and they use these people to prove, oh, white nationalism is very mainstream in America, and look how bad this is for Trump supporters and this and that. And of course, the image they try to heavily circulate, you probably saw this across the media, comes from a Washington, D.C. metro train where you can see there's this one black girl who's sitting amongst the Patriot Front people, and they're trying to use it as this Rosa Parks style thing. Wow, look at her. This image is going to go down in history. Look how scared she was. But what's hilarious about this is that when you actually break down this scandal, it makes leftists look really stupid, and I'll explain why. And let me be clear, again, this is not avowing support for Patriot Front. I'm going to reiterate, MAGA literally think these people are feds. Okay, MAGA do not support these people. But if we are going to just dissect what happened here, what I find to be ironic is that they didn't actually do anything to her, right? She got on and off the train completely safely. Nothing went down. Whereas when you compare the interaction with the supposed white nationalists versus just the average incident in a Democrat city with the type of people the type of schizophrenic, crazy lunatics that they allow to be on the streets, I think the contrast really does tell you everything. But then even as it pertains to this individual herself, right? The brand new leftist race martyr, it turns out as well, she indeed is one of those people. She is one of these kind of mentally insane subway people who has a criminal record, and she herself has caused way more incidents than, say, Patriot Front ever has, and we'll explain what that means as well. But yeah, you know, on many levels, let's just break down this whole situation because, again, it's not the argument that the leftists seem to think, and I will repeat, that's not us saying we're pro-Patriot Front. We're just saying, yes, statistically, it does seem as if this is the face of the supposed like big, bad, scary neo-Nazi white supremacists that are on the comeback in America. And yet somehow, some way, you were safer around them, around the white nationalists, than you were the average crazy subway dweller in a Democrat city. Let's explain that whole story. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, so here you can see, right, Patriot Front, I guess, did their own rally in the middle of DC. Nobody really was around or seemed to be paying all that much attention to it. And you saw all of the left-wing pundits running with this, saying things like Mehdi Hassan right here. Maybe Republicans should spend more time condemning stuff like this and less time condemning the mayor of New York, which is to do this gotcha of, haha, you guys say our party has political extremism, but you do as well, and you don't condemn it. To which I say, what Republican has not condemned Patriot Front? I don't exactly understand that. Even among the MAGA base. Again, I'm going to repeat, and this is not a secret. It's been a thing for years. Trump supporters literally think these people are like federal agitators, okay? They do not support. And as it pertains to Patriot Front too, by the way, I believe this video is actually on YouTube. I think he did an interview once with Patrick Bet-David. But Thomas Rousseau, the actual leader of Patriot Front, publicly has stated he does not support Trump. His group's ideology is that they don't even believe in electoral politics to begin with. So what are you talking about even tying these people to Republicans? Meanwhile, I can flip it over and point out that at various different No Kings protests, we do see a repeated cycle of actual Communist Party, publicly avowed Marxists showing up. They're not pushed out. See, that's the thing. If Patriot Front shows up to a MAGA rally, which they don't, but if they did, MAGA would tell them to leave. MAGA would tell them you're not a part of it, right? So you can kind of do this cat and mouse game where you're like, see, Republicans have extremism too. But the thing is, no, we don't, because we're not the ones with publicly avowed Marxists, for example, representing us in political office. Graham Plattner, for example, going publicly online and besides the Nazi tattoo, which is another conversation, which we could probably use that as well. But as I brought up many times, maybe even the more important thing than the tattoo is that just a few years ago, this guy publicly went on Reddit and called himself a communist. If a Republican did that and ran for office, would he ever receive institutional support from the Democrat Party, which Graham Plattner did up until today? No, absolutely not. That is a complete joke. So to do this whole thing where it's like Republicans don't condemn and, oh, this is MAGA, it's obviously not true, right? And part of the reason they're trying to do this whataboutism is because, again, the Democrat Party does actually let in the extremists and the communists into their ranks. Will we ever see a Democrat politician in 2026 come out and explicitly disavow Marxism, or are they going to just continue to allow these people to come in and rally for them? How much support have we seen of the supposed anti-ICE protests, which are literally just like, again, Antifa, left-wing violence in many cases? It's all the time, right? But, this is what these people went around and tried to do. Oh, look at these Republicans who didn't show up to Trump's event and don't support Trump. Aha. Look at that, guys. Dean Withers, for example. Your great-grandchildren will see this photo in their history books. This is a defining image of the American era of American history that we live in. And as you can see, this is the image right here that they kept on sharing around. So yeah, there's this black girl who's sitting in the subway. They're trying to say, look at her. She was so scared. She was so terrified around the white nationalists, which again, you can use this as your Rosa Parks hoax or whatever if you want. But I would still point out objectively, she got on and off the train completely fine. So what is your point? The scary white nationalists. They don't believe she should be there. Whatever. Okay. But they didn't even do anything to her, right? They left her completely alone. And people are going to try to say, so that means you're supporting Patriot Front. We went over it a million times. I'm not going to deal with bad faith nonsense. I'm just pointing out objectively that's what happened, right? So compare the big scary white nationalists versus, for example, the fate of one Irina Zarutska and many other people on public transit systems in this country who were killed by repeat criminals, crazy people who should clearly have, violent people who clearly should have been in prison already, things like that. Right? The product of Democrat policies, the product of the soft on crime ideology that says, oh, well, even if you get arrested and you're clearly insane, let's just keep on letting you back onto the streets in the name of compassion, in the name of empathy. Well, it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, empathy has killed way more people on American public transit than Patriot Front ever has, which I find to be the most ridiculous aspect of this whole thing. This is what you want to make into a scandal, right? Imagine how she felt is what a lot of the leftists are trying to say. Imagine how the black girl felt. She must have felt so afraid standing next to these people. Okay, well, for example, Irina Zarutska felt a lot more than afraid. It wasn't just about some emotion or some suspicion in her head. She literally ended up dead. Right? Are we not acknowledging that? Are we not paying attention to that, right? And what's even crazier about this is it turns out, as we have that conversation about what is frankly a rapid epidemic or a repeat epidemic in America on many public transit systems, right? They seem to be these gathering grounds for schizophrenics, for mentally ill people, for people on drugs. I repeat, a lot more statistically violent than even the white supremacists that, you're saying are the most violent people in this country, leftists, okay? That even this individual right here, that is right, the black girl that you see in the picture that they're using as their Rosa Parks, it turns out in many ways is sort of one of these subway dwellers, okay? So her name is apparently Bonita Bowlding, and records from the DC legal system show She was actually charged with indecent exposure on July 18th, 2024, right? And then given a free lawyer at taxpayer expense, then the charge was dismissed back in 2025. There does also appear to be an alleged video of her actually exposing herself on that same exact train, which you might have seen, floating over social media, but still, nonetheless. In other words, libs, it turns out that your supposed Rosa Parks character is actually more of a threat to public safety on the DC Metro train than the actual white nationalist, whatever, bad, crazy Nazi characters that you're claiming are the threat to America. And you're using this person as, look at this picture, look at her, side by side, right? Who is more of the threat? Just like, well, you know what I mean, right? Who has, by the way, committed more crimes on DC Metro trains or public transit trains in general in this country? Your repeat offenders that you keep on cheering on as doctors and engineers and pillars of the community and crafting criminal justice code to serve these people, or the Patriot Front, right? Who has committed more crimes on subway trains? Who is a greater threat to public safety on subway trains? Is it them, or is it your people that you keep on defending and allowing and coddling? Like, that's actually such a revealing, like, red pill moment when you think of it, right? Oh, the white nationalists, the white supremacists. Okay, no one is saying they support them. But if you want the actual delving deep, right? The actual research or the actual just symbol of who is more dangerous to this country, hilariously, it's the person in that photograph who they're claiming to be the martyr, right?
This is a photo taken by Reuters of the white supremacists traveling to the Capitol on the DC Metro. In the middle of the sea of white supremacists, we see a lone black woman commuting, surrounded by a sea of people who do not think she deserves rights.
And this is a photo of legal immigrant Uriana Zarutska, who was surrounded by people who did nothing as she was brutally taken from this earth. And you didn't make not one video about it, Dean.
A sea of people who do not think she deserves to be in this country, and frankly, a sea of people who probably don't think she deserves to be alive.
And the difference between these two are, one woman is still alive.
Yeah, exactly. You would never guess which one of them is still alive. And honestly, we could even have that conversation on a political level. Which group has committed more political violence in general in this country? Is that Patriot Front or is that Antifa? I'm just saying, right? And then they can say, oh, you're supporting Patriot Front. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you want to create this boogeyman of far-right neo-Nazi violence in America. They're the real threat. How many times have we heard white men, white supremacy is the greatest terrorist threat to this country? Okay. So who has more terrorist attacks? Your average generic no kings left-wing protest movement of assassinations, of riots, of vandalism, of violence, of assault, of all those things, are Patriot Front, right? Again, that's not me supporting Patriot Front. I'm just saying, if you're going to make this boogeyman out of the white supremacists or whatever, and then pick some group that you deem to be far right, okay, fine, whatever, do that, right? But let's actually compare. Let's actually I mean, how much was made out of Charlottesville, for example? Remember when that was a thing for 3-4 years? They would never stop talking about it? Okay, so that happened. How many times did we see the equivalent? I mean, how many people died, for example, just in the Summer of Love alone? I had a gigantic left-wing protest that was widely supported by the institutions. Unlike Charlottesville, that got praise. People were marching alongside. Democrat politicians were participating, all of those things. Which is why I'm not going to sit here and play along with this hoax. It's like, oh, well, yeah, but the Patriot Front, they're such a big threat to us. White supremacy actually is rising in America. It's just like, it's bogus. You understand? It's just, they're making something out of nothing. And even when they do that, even when you look into the details, it actually just makes things worse for them, right? Who's the real criminal on that train? Like, it's actually hilarious to me. But anyways, they went on and on with this. For example, we had Sunny Hostin reacting to this yesterday, trying to even go beyond Patriot Front to say that a bunch of white supremacists now are owning the American flag. And much like the black girl on the train, that's why she now feels unsafe when she sees the American flag around her. Take a listen.
And with
with an American flag on that cap. You might as well have a hood on. You might as well have a hood on.
That picture is how we feel walking into many rooms down the street. That picture is how we feel, and nobody will believe us. So look at that picture and understand how it feels.
Yes. There are times when I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy.
Really? Are you kidding me? That's how black women feel every time they walk into a room. They feel like they're on this metro train right here with Patriot Front all around them because that's the reality. Okay. Well, even assuming that they actually do feel this way and it's not just a big giant race hustle to get more welfare and reparations and whatever else and sympathy from white America, even if we are to assume this is actually true, okay, so what? So you feel a certain way. Therefore, it must be reality because, like, in my head, I think this is true, therefore it must be true. Because when you actually juxtapose it with reality, again, we're going to repeat, okay, she could feel however she want, but as a factual matter, again, bringing up this side-by-side image, not feelings, but reality, the reality is one of these women was actually unsafe on that train and one of them was not, right? And then Sunny Hostin's going to say, well, this is why when I walk into a neighborhood with American flags, probably means a bunch of like right-wing MAGA Republican people live there, okay, that's why I feel unsafe. Because it's a symbol of the white supremacy or something. Okay, again, black women can feel however they wish to feel, but let's talk reality. Let's talk facts here. You know, are you actually in reality, in terms of crime statistics and everything else, are you actually more unsafe in the nice suburban neighborhood with the picket fences and the American flags? Or let's say, I don't know, another type of neighborhood where certain behaviors and certain patterns seem to show themselves. I'm just saying, right? Do I have to go there? Are we going to go there? Do we need to go there? I guess, I don't know. But, you know, that's just like simply the truth. In reality, you are much more likely in this country to be killed or have violence inflicted upon you on a metro train or even just in general, even out in the streets, by people of the ilk of DeCarlos Brown Jr. than you are Patriot Front. That's just the reality, right? So again, that's not us saying white nationalism is something we're supporting Patriot Front. But if you're going to make this a thing, who's the real threat to this country? Where's the real safety threat coming from? You know? Regardless of your feelings of how black women feel, okay, let's talk the reality of what's going on in our streets. The answer is obvious. So there's your race hoax, though. There's how stupid you people actually look. And, you know, oh, we feel threatened by the American flag. Therefore, yeah, let all the black criminals out of jail and never discuss like the actual crimes that are taking place, committed very disproportionately by black men, especially in this country. No, but the white men, they made a scary image. Therefore, they're actually worse. Because sure, that white girl might be dead, literally dead, but the black girl felt scared. You'd never guess which one the race communists think was a bigger deal, right? And then, of course, they try to get upset if we say, you know, when you really break it down, it's barely even liberal politics. It's just race communism, right? It's just like racial resentment, black nationalism, a very mainstream concept on the political left in itself, right? No, what? And then like you see, this is actually what they believe to be more important. But anyways, there you have it, guys. There's your stupid hoax that is just ridiculous. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you were new. And until next time, God bless and peace.